Hello, and welcome to the DM's Book Club, a podcast where we talk about some Dungeons and Dragons and discuss how we might include it in our role-playing campaigns. With me, as ever, is Hamilton.
Hello!
Hamilton. How are you, my friend?
I am good, thank you. Yes, I am. Yeah, it's nice to be back in the chair. It feels like a long time since we've last done this because we did our potential new thing last time, didn't we?
Yes, that is correct.
I don't know if we can promote that yet or not. If that's secrets. I don't know. What's the?
I guess for now we won't promote it because then people will be like, "Oh, what is it?"
Exactly.
Cool thing. And then
we're
they'll be
making
like,
a cool thing.
And then they'll realise it's still us.
It's still us doing a very similar thing, but yes, So it feels like it's nice to be doing some DM's Book Club again, and
Yes.
I've been playing some D&D again now because of our streams. I've been having fun with that as well.
Fantastic.
So that's nice. But no Curse of Strahd. They had their first game without me. And I sent them gifts when I saw them in chat of me crying, basically.
Oh no!
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. It works thematically for my character as well.
Yes, it does. I've been the same really. I feel like January's been super long, but also incredibly short. And now that I'm back in London and everything like that, I feel a lot better because I'm like, oh, my home. But also I'm like, oh, but there's lots of stuff I need to do. And was I supposed to be recording? So yeah, I've also been like, I always say this about the pandemic is that there's a lot going on, and I don't know if I'm present for most of it.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's that sort of feeling of, time is much weirder than it even used to be already.
But we could sort of just ease ourselves back into it. And I was like, what about let's do some world building? Yeah. So as of recording, was it this week? Yes, because it was January earlier this week. Angeline Trevina's books, she's a great fantasy novelist, and she's written lots of little guides on how to make stuff. So she's written the 30 Days of Worldbuilding 2nd edition, has come out recently, an author's step-by-step guide to building fictional worlds. And I thought, why not, Hamilton? Why not we should do a couple of these prompts and just see how far we get? Because I don't know the last time I actually did some proper world building. Obviously, we've made dragons, we've made villains and NPCs, but actual world, it's been a little bit of a time. Like for you, do you make a lot of your worlds and stuff like that? I assume you do. You do a lot of homebrew stuff, right?
I do a lot of homebrew stuff. I mean, I guess. I mean, in the campaigns we're doing online, it's all Faerun, Forgotten Realms lore. So I kind of keep that. I make up the little places they go to. Like I made the Abyss place, but I've got a world. I have a world I want to play in at some point. It's been developing in the background. It will happen one day. It will. It's there. I do it, as I said, I actually used that World Spinner program that we talked about last week, I think, when I first did it years ago, to try and help, create, a world map, and then gave me, some little countries to, give names and stuff like that, to help, generate ideas. And then from there, I've got, a little world that I want. What about you? I don't want to talk about it too much because it's all.
I don't know. You want to keep it for yourself, or when it's published and you're famous.
Yeah. Not
that's how it works. That's how it works. I have little ideas for things, but I'm one of those people who I really struggle to think beyond the bigger picture. I think I'm like all DMs, right? You put up the town the people are in and you flesh it out, and then they go, I want to go out of town. You go, oh no, I've not finished building it.
The bridges are burnt. Yes.
Construction in the way,
and if you go in the water, you drown after 3 minutes, like they do in GTA. Exactly. Yeah.
Whoops. So I'm always. It's one of those things where I just need to sit down and have a go. Because what's the worst that can happen is that it just sits there like the unpublished novel on.
Well, that's exactly what I've got. That's exactly what I've got, and I don't know everything about it, but I know about 2 major countries. I know the world-ending cataclysmic event that changed the world that you always have to have, every single one. I don't want to talk about it too much because it's so naff. That's it. But it's it's got its things, and it needs people to play in it. Do you know what I mean? That's it. Because that's actually how you write. That's, as I said, that technique I like writing is just the let it happen as it goes sort of thing. So
yeah. And that's quite interesting. So obviously this guide is meant to be for authors, so writing the novel, writing that world setting. And then, so I think anything like this, any sort of guide, to be able to use it to create your own world, but then gets changed by players. And that's always the thing, isn't it? When you have your stuff and you're playing the adventure, if they do something that you don't expect, well, that's canon in quotation marks. They've affected the thing, and how do you develop that? So it's going to be, I always think that's really interesting, here you're creating a little bit of a world, but you've got to leave some of it open for interpretation. Whereas if you're a novelist or an author, it is kind of what you want, and then closing it in. So Yeah, it's an interesting thing, especially even if you're using already published published modules already. So obviously, Curse of Strahd, Dragon Heist, the players can easily influence stuff that it's not in the book, and you're gonna go, okay.
Yeah, no, exactly, and you're talking about that sort of making lore. It's like when you're using a published adventure as well, it's bloody difficult because you're like. When you're doing it live as well, because people might check potentially one day someone might watch this what I'm doing, someone might watch it, and someone might go and I'm like going, bugger, I'm not Ed Greenwood, I don't know what the answer is. So it's like I couldn't think. The other day I was trying to figure out, in Sigil there's a pub that has a tributary of the Styx in it underneath, for example, and I was like in the middle of recording, I'm like, I don't remember what it's called, the leaky boat. That's what it's called now, because I can't remember what it's called. It's the leaky boat, I think. So, but I don't think that's what it's called. But I don't know if that's okay. It probably is okay. But...
I think, Wizards have always said, I can't remember which book it is. They always have those really fun little intro texts. And it always says, whatever happens in your world of your version of Waterdeep, of your version of Neverwinter, that is canon to that world, and it's canon to D&D. And I think that's it is a nice little thing. So because everybody's all like the multiverse, right? The multiverse is a big thing right now.
Exactly. Yeah, I've gone on that bandwagon. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think we're all on that bandwagon, I think. So that's
That's
so
fine.
I think I think this guide as well. If you wanted to take a world that you're influenced by, like you've seen it in TV, you've read it in a book, and you want to be able to do something with it, it's okay to change little bits and pieces. And as I was saying, make it as a living document, a breathing document you can always go back and change, which is quite nice, I thought. So I thought we'd go through a couple of these prompts. Obviously, we'll put a link to Angeli Trevina's book. Just post a link to it, because obviously please check out stuff. She's done other books which are like 30 days to create a history, ones about magic and dystopian and stuff, all like workbooks essentially that you can purchase in paperback and as a PDF as well. So, just to take these on as your own. So we thought we'd do a few of them. And we could do them together, Hamilton. So the first, and the other thing as well, because it says 30 days. So the idea is that every day you spend a little time, maybe about 5 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever you've got time to do so, and you answer the prompt, essentially. It's like all those solo RPGs you do. You get a prompt and you write about it or you verbalise about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so day one, very easy thing, is a genre and setting. So so the big question is, what is the genre of the setting that we want to create? And obviously, there's so many genres out there. Obviously, you've got high fantasy, dark fantasy, you've got sci-fi, you've got futuristic stuff, you can do horror, medieval, modern, film noir, all these things. So what would you say if we were going to start out this world we wanted to create? I'm
gonna give this a Fiona twisty vibe. Let's do dark horror fantasy but let's add a twist into that. Let's add something. I want a dark horror fantasy, but then what about? I can't think of it. I'm trying to think. I was going to make it.
What's my twist?
It's not a police. Yeah, I don't want a police there. That's too obvious. That's the first one that came to mind. But I'm thinking that's too obvious. Yeah, let's make it Tim Burton-esque. Yeah,
Tim Burton-esque. There you go.
Tim Burton-esque sort of dark horror. So very gothic, campy. Yes. Yeah, campy horror, dark fantasy.
I love
but it's
that,
gory. So it's like kind of stupid, gory, campy, dark horror world. Yeah.
Does Johnny Depp turn up in it?
Johnny Depp officially lives in. This is his original world.
I love it.
And Helena Bonham Carter.
And of course, Helena Bonham Carter, absolutely. So I've written down. So this is the answer to sort of day one's first prompt. Is what is our genre? So we've gone. What you've chosen is Tim Burton, dark horror fantasy, and then underneath, campy hot gothic, stupid gore, and then Johnny Depp, Helen Bonham Carter.
Yeah, that's it. That's our prompt. Okay.
I love that. And again, we don't have to go into too much. It's just those sort of bits on the page, like I'm writing now. Yeah. It's perfect. The second prompt is what common locations that are seen. What are common locations seen in this genre? So okay, we're thinking Tim Burton. We're thinking that campy horror. What is a common trope that we see in Tim Burton?
Emo haircuts, I guess. No. I think there has to be.
Just throw them out. Just throw the
mansion, haunted mansion. There's always like a funky haunted mansion.
Yeah, Gothic sort of architecture, so really
Yeah,
tall
Gothic
buildings.
tall Gothic architecture, very
Yeah.
Victoriana. Yeah, like memento mori sort of things. Lots of people
Ooh,
wearing
yes.
like skulls and black cloaks and those sort of masks. If we've watched Vox Machina, the
Yes,
Percy mask.
the Percy mask, the Doctor mask.
The plague Doctor mask.
Oh, I love that. Would you say, because I know a lot of Tim Burtons do have this, but sort of a black and white sort of filter on it, and so all the colours are very muted, perhaps.
Yeah, very muted colours. Yeah, everything's a bit bleached out. But then, if you think of Edward Scissorhands, I say there's got to be a little bit of there's a little bit of that sort of colour. But then red is okay. All colours are sort of like muted, but then like blood is very red. Like in the other one I was thinking was what's it called? Crimson Peak. You know, that's
Crimson Peak is such a good film.
I love Crimson Peak. Yeah,
I think that's a great film. Yeah, and it has Tom Hiddleston in it, so obviously.
and then it's got to be craggy mountains. There's got to be moors and marshland. There's got to be definitely a moor, very like Heathcliff sort of, and Kathy
running
sort
across
of
the moor.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
getting all lots of wistful looking across. And
like expansive
views,
views, exactly.
Cliff's a cliff, like a cliff is a proper cliff that someone's fallen over a few times. That's sort of like,
Yeah, and then going back to Edward Scissorhands, and what I liked about that film, because obviously that is like the horror in the modern, is that there are definitely parts of it which are very poppy in colour. So again, you could have that as well, like suddenly you into a different region or something like that. There's like, it is just full of colour. It is that Wizard of Oz moment where...
Exactly.
So I love... I'm excited.
Okay, yeah. And Cruella, I want to add a bit of Cruella in there as well.
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So a bit of that sort of like punk, add a bit of early 70s punk in there just for like some part of it. Do you know what I mean? And that sort of style that she has. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so what common locations or tropes? So we've got obviously sort of like the big tall architecture. We've got Victoriana. That's sort of like these decorative masks that people wear. Maybe then if it's Victoriana, that sort of industrial type thing. Maybe smog.
Big tall hats. The top hats.
Tallest hat. Tim Burton always has a really tall hat that has smoke coming off it. I always.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that.
I'm on top hats, putting those down.
There's going to be a bit of steampunk look to it as well, a little bit, isn't there? Because he kind of does that. He kind of jumps into that a little bit, Tim Burton, doesn't he? I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's always like Tim Burton's.
It's Victoriana as well.
It's Victoriana, but it is. Everyone does think it's Gothic or it's goth in some way, but then you have all these subgenres. So that's why we're sort of picking it apart just now. But the colours are muted, except blood or reds are very, very red. And I just that Crimson Peak red where it's sort of running down the walls.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then moors and marshes and expansive views
big
with
graveyards, really overfilled graveyards with with all the stones all coming out and crypts.
But not necessarily. I guess with that, not necessarily horror. That's not scary horror. It's just a general thing. If you think like Nightmare Before Christmas, it's just like a typical. It's just a different way of looking.
It's not the movie thriller. Everyone's coming out of it. Zombies. It's just
the way. So maybe again later on we'll be like, what does undead? Is this undead? Is just another common thing? It's actually more normal than being alive. All that sort of thing. So that could be interesting. And then at the end we've got Cruella punk. So again, having that maybe very sharp suits and pinstripes.
Exactly. Very. I think there's going to be maybe there's both like an elite that's sharp suited and there's also like a uprising rebellion that is more sharp suited as well in a different way. Do you know what I mean?
I like it a lot.
Maybe they're like colourful as well. Maybe that's where they bring in more like purples and stuff. Yeah. I don't know if this is creating a world, but we're making something.
But this is the thing. So this is like, think of it as like the mood board that we're sort of putting these things that we want, and always like I love the idea we'd put like little bits of fag brick and go, what will it be? What will this world be? Okay, so from that, I want you to come up with 3 physical locations that are important to the story we want to tell. Because we've got loads of ideas, but I want you to think of 3 different, perhaps, they don't have to be connected in any way, but like, what would you be like, here's a location you want your players to go visit or play around in.
Right, okay. So a place they want to hang out at a lot, or somewhere important. Okay, well, let's sticking on your Industrial Revolution, let's have like a mill or something like a factory. Yeah. Okay, I'm thinking like, do you know Saltaire? You know Saltaire, you're from up north, right?
Oh yeah, Saltaire, yeah.
Yeah, you must know that, right? It's very close, it's Bradford way, I guess.
Yes, it is Bradford way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad. Anyway, so sort of like industrial, that sort of idea. Saltaire is like a big factory, but then all the workers live in houses made by the same person who owns the factory. So it's like a town which is like controlled by this person who runs the factory, owns their house, owns the street, has the, pays for the minister, pays he just owns, and he basically, when you go there, he owns you. Do you know what I mean? It's not just, you can't escape, mate. It's a Hotel California style factory.
I love it. So it could, that sort of a factory type town or even a village of some sort. But I just like that sort of thing, like almost like, it's a Doctor Who episode as well. But is that sort of factory town-esque, very northern, Cadbury's, that sort of thing, where everything is just prim and proper, but there's some sort of thing behind it. I love that. Okay, a mill type town.
Yeah, mill town.
Really?
But
I love that. It also feels very. Sorry, it just kind of came to me, that sort of unfortunate events, like sort of style as well.
I've never seen it, but I've seen the trailer for it with Lemony Snicket. Is that what it is?
That's the one. Yeah. Oh yeah. So again, Lemony Snicket is very Tim Burton as well. So great. All right. What about a second important location?
Well, you give us one.
Me? Oh me. Okay, fine. Going back to that sort of steampunk idea. Okay. There was a lot of young adult novels I read when I was really into steampunk, right? All of them, all Victoriana sort of thing, always talked about ladies having tea. So I'm thinking a famous tea room somewhere.
Oh yeah, okay.
And it's one of those sort of, it'll be like the Tea Leaves Parlour, or a much better name than that. But it's the idea, it's like you're going for an afternoon tea. It's like the Betty's of the North. It is just like beautiful, and everything is prim and proper.
Have you ever seen the tea rooms at the V&A?
I've seen it from afar. I've never been.
Okay. Well, inside there, it's like that was like one of the most famous Victoria and Albert. That's it. But the V&A ones, it's like really pump house looking. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like got big, lovely columns and lots of decorations, very decorated.
Yes.
And sort of thing. And imagining it slightly, those loads of big plants growing up everywhere, and very much opening up onto some sort of landscape.
Absolutely, absolutely. It would definitely be everyone's prim and poised. Everyone's wearing gloves. That's why I see this sort of very Victoriana sort of thing. And so any big meetings would happen in this place if it's as a location, as a thing. So some sort of tea room, I think, would be.
What if I want to give it like a twist though? So like, what if they're like a tea room? But really, it's like a front for something.
Ooh.
Okay?
Go on.
So, like, maybe it's all these, like, prim and proper, people going to have tea. But actually, they're all part of, like a thieves' guild or
I was going to say assassin, so it feels like very Kingsman,
right? Assassin. Yeah, okay, fine. Maybe that's where I'm coming from. But maybe, I'm trying to think what else it could be. Or, like, maybe, like, all secretly mages or something like that. I don't know. I'm trying to think.
I guess because I guess we'll come to later on about whether or not magic is as important to this world or not. Because it doesn't have
or
to be.
Or they're necromancers or something. I don't know.
Yeah, or poisoners or something like that. But there's all right. So something we can come to later. So they are. So there's a front for something. Untowards, you say? Would it be an evil thing, or would it be?
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. It could be positive as well. But I kind of like the idea that they're all very prim and proper, but actually they're only just doing that so they can communicate information back and forth or something like that.
Oh, okay. So how about a front for like a big communication hub that's a neutral? It's either it can go for either side. So a bit like Varys from Game of Thrones, a very spy.
Maybe it's a spy network. It's like a spy network. There you go. Like yeah. And so it's just.
Yeah, it feels so British there, doesn't it? A spy always has tea.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. So it's a front for a spy network.
Yeah. Okay,
there we go. Perfect. And so it gives that sort of neutrality to it as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's go for one more then.
Right.
I think let's get something with like the punk element in it.
Okay, punk element. Okay, so we need something sort of undergroundy, sort of like. What about? Okay, fine. We got to have the mansion somewhere. But what about the mansion is like a derelict sort of old Gothic mansion that everyone believes is haunted by ghosts, but really it's just because they have rocking parties there all the time. And it's like the big club. It's like the club where you go. And so it's in this, imagine these antebellum sort of like which is the sort of like America, but it's got like big verandas around the outside, and then it's got like a courtyard in the inside, or it's like fallen through roof, but they've made the main central stair, like it's got a fallen through roof. But that's where they put the stage, and everyone looks out onto the balconies inside the levels inside down, and that's like the club. And that's like the punk,
really cool.
And that's where they like have their headquarters, and they're all like, there's always a band playing. There's always like you can get drinks. Oh yeah, and they like have, maybe it's like on the cliff face, the classic
well,
by
I was
the
going to
cliff.
say, because you said it was you sort of mentioning underground. Would it be completely underground, or would it be on the cliff face, or just out?
It's like I'm saying, it's one of these buildings that weathering's happening slowly, so it's getting closer and closer to the cliff, and maybe it's got like secret underground rooms that go down to like a boating station out into the water, and they can they get all like bootleg liquor like by the boats, and then like pulling it up through
Absolutely.
So no one ever seen going in and out from the town. Everyone accesses it from the cliff face, and that's why everyone just thinks it's like haunted or something. I don't know.
Yeah, because no one really knows what's going on, but it's always horrible shrieking and wailing.
Yeah, reeking sounds that they can't understand, but it's just like electric guitars and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Wow. So there you go. So we've got 3 very different locations there, which can be very important to the story, or just something that adds a sort of flavour thing in. Because I can easily see now like an adventure hook being like, oh, this mansion's always got screams coming out of it, but we've just never bothered because it's it's in decay. Like it'll be, the sooner the tide will take it away, and then obviously they go, well, we'll go investigate for you, and then you're like, oh, it's really fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, we'll move on to day 2. Talks about drawing your own map. And obviously, it doesn't have to be a beautiful bit of art or anything like that, and you don't need to know all the details about it. But I think let's just talk about drawing in general, because obviously I know you design everything. When you're drawing a map, or you're coming up with an idea for this world we've got. So we've got obviously 3 big things. We've got the things that inspire it. What kind of shape are you? Are you just gonna do like a small bit of it, like a region, or are you gonna try and do the whole world from out? What would you start with if you were going to do this?
Yeah, so I mean, as I talked about last year, I use that world spinner thing because I just think it's fun just to find some shapes, and then I'd zoom in on like maybe a country, maybe like a continent, but I don't think I'd do a whole world.
Perfect.
I might just do, I don't know, I find it very difficult to figure out where I'd go. If I was going to do this, like we've just talked about the setting, I would make probably like an area of us. Do you know what I mean? I'd have like maybe one city which I'd really focus on, maybe a town I'd focus on. That like mining town would be a town that we'd have like separate from the main city, and then you'd have like maybe it's like a big, like a shipping, like London-esque sort of got docklands and stuff like that, and do that sort of stuff, and then maybe a little area around it, and that's where I'd probably go.
I think that'd be quite. I think if you look at a map in general and you take an interesting shape from it, so you could go look at like the shape of say Greenland or something like that, and be like, here's like take the sort of the coastal map of that and then make it from
Weirdly,
that.
Greenland just came up in the background when you were saying that.
Whoa. That was probably.
It's always in a map, but to be honest, it's quite a big area of maps. To be honest,
it is. That's why I went for it. But like even like you said, so like thinking about London Docklands, for example, if you look at like an over map of that and you could just trace around it, that'd be perfect. So I think then if we look at those 3 locations that we came up with, so we got a mill, a tea room, and a mansion. Where would you put these things? I'm guessing you wouldn't put them in the same area. Would you? Like the mansion you sort of talked would be on the coastline somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So along that.
Yeah, go on.
No, go for it.
Well, so I think like what you'd have with the mansion is like it feels like it'd be part of like a big town or a city, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of, if it's fantasy-ish, I guess nothing's gonna be bigger.
No. But so if it's part of a big town, but it's on near a cliff, so maybe that is a port town, perhaps.
That's exactly feeling a bit Grimsby about it or something like that. I don't know. Maybe it's on a spit or something. I don't know.
Perfect. So then, you could then go to go look at Grimsby on the Google map and then just have a work out and then just pick up a little bit, see what the surrounding areas of that. Brilliant. What about?
And then
what about? Go on.
Tea room. What about you? You had the tea room. Where would you put the tea room?
See now, I think we always see maybe a prim and proper as in a town somewhere. I now like the idea just to again do that Fiona twist on it. It is completely remote, and you have to take your way to go. It's like a couple of miles out of the town, but only if you're going there, everyone knows what they're there for.
Versailles.
like Versailles, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Exactly
like a
that.
palatial sort of space where it's all got nice gardens and stuff.
Exactly. So it is beautiful, but everyone goes there for a reason. So and it's like this great big pretense, which I quite like. And then there's lots of people walking with parasols, like you said, in the garden, all that sort of thing. So yeah, I think I would, so maybe a bit of space around it, perhaps. Maybe not necessarily in the middle of the map.
Well, maybe it's got like training zones, so they're all like on horses at times, like doing training for like combat, you know, and they're doing like combat training in Spa. But actually, it looks like they're just playing badminton. But really, it's all about like getting exercise.
You have to get over a certain perception check to go, oh, that was a big hit.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there's a rifle range and a shooting range, but that's just what you do at these places, isn't it? You know?
Oh yeah, everyone comes to these places, but the reason they come is for the tea room, but there's all these other extra activities around which aren't necessarily put on offer for them, but it is for the spies to train. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Now I have this image of them playing like a badminton game with a grenade of some sort. Like experimental smoke grenades. It's like
I'm just thinking the background of all like James Bond when they meet Q. Do you know what I mean? And they're all trying out like the sandwich bomb or something like that, or the telephone booth bomb or something like that. So someone just walks into a telephone booth and disappears underground or something like that, and just like, what did I see? What I thought I saw?
I never thought I'd be talking about Victoriana James Bond. But I love that as an idea, because then you can have such a great time with like artificers guilds and stuff like that if you're creating all these ridiculous things. All right, what about your mill town then? Where do you see that on your map? Like, what stuff around it would you put? Would there be like? I
feel like that's got to be like in the middle of like a moor. Like it's like you can't to get to it. It's like it's a remote town, but it's like you got to get to it by driving like through the moor, and it gets all misty, and then suddenly it like appears down in a valley, and it was probably once a very beautiful valley. Really thinking that what's he saying? Jerusalem? What's that line? The dark satanic mills that ruin our British landscape. That sort of classic. You know what I'm saying? That beautiful like landscape where this like river runs down, but this mill's just been plonked there, and this town is built up around it, and there's just this smog, and actually you think it's the mist of the moors, but really it's just the smog, and the smog feels like it's one of those pea supers, as they used to say. That fills the whole of this valley, and so anytime you're in the streets it's always foggy, but you're coughing and like everyone's always sort of stuff.
Everyone's always got the goggles on, and like you said, like the masks.
The mask on.
I want to play in this game.
Can't breathe that. You can't breathe that smoke for too long there, lad. You know, that's it. Yeah. Sorry.
No, I think that's great. I love that a big. So again,
I'm apologising to the north there. That's what I was doing.
Well, I'm also from the north. I know I don't sound like it.
No, you do. I mean, you do a bit. I mean, as in, like, I was apologising to you and the north.
Oh, okay. Well, I do represent the north. I know.
Yeah, in this
two-way call.
Call, you represent the north.
Yeah, and again, like ideas of like themes of isolation, that not being able to see things clearly. Again, very Lemony Snicket, very sort of Tim Burton as well. So I'm like. Always makes sense. All right, day 3 is water resources. Now, water, Anjali describes as something it's very important, like, 'cause obviously that's where things would build around, and that's where you get sort of fresh water to water your crops and stuff like that. So I want us to sort of talk about what we've got. I kind of mentioned a coastline, so obviously there'll be a sea of some sort, but like, what big bits of water, what rivers would we have in this place? Would there be just like a Nile-esque one where there's like one going all the way through, or would there be lots of different lakes? What are your thoughts on that?
See, I'm just picturing very Britain at the moment, which is probably problematic. I'm trying to get ourselves. What if it's more like archipelagic? That's a word, right? Yeah. Maybe if it isn't, it is now. Archipelagic. Yeah. Maybe it's kind of twisted and warped, like it was. Imagine England, but it's then flooded and kind of broken apart or something like that.
So there's different also land masses of different sizes, and and there's always boats to get to places.
Yeah, you have to get on boats. Yeah, so maybe you have to boat across to like all these places.
I don't know if you've seen or read A Woman in Black at all. By so
it freaked me out so much.
Well, that's a different
when she's
story.
on that bloody rocking chair, and Jesus Christ,
hate it, but love it. So to get to the mansion, they have to wait till the tide goes out, and then they can cross it. So I like the idea that maybe in certain places, when the tide goes out, then you can only access it. Otherwise, it's like an extra boat trip or something like that. So maybe some areas are inaccessible until certain times of the
maybe
year.
it's like really marshy. Maybe it's a bit like Norfolk. Do you know? Lots of like, well, it's just marshy and riverways and stuff, and then leads to bigger land masses, and then. But it's like cities maybe fill a whole landmass and then they build a bridge across or something, like that, or you got a boat and then.
I like the idea of that marshes sort of thing. So maybe you have people that there's always these tales of people going out and like I can get over there, I'll be back in time, and then getting.
Yeah, and there's people walking on stilts. You know, the stilt walkers that walk in marshes. So lots of that sort of visual. You know, sort of people.
Stilt walkers instead of like lifeguards or lifeboats.
Yeah.
I like that. Oh, that's really cool.
That's how like most people get to work, is just by stilt walking, and it's only the people with lots of money can go on their boats. And, and then only the main cities have bridges for horse and cars.
So I guess all these so between villages and between if there was like I'm just throwing out there like a mine or something like that, the idea that people are trudging, and so that morning if you're going for that mill, for example, even though they're all sort of living there, for people coming outside, you just see this. Loads of people trudging across.
Maybe I'm now imagining all the buildings are on stilts themselves, and it's like a bit like Wookiee village sort of.
Buildings on stilts, and would you say then the water in the marshes then is it drinkable? Do they have to treat it in some way? Is it something?
Maybe it was drinkable, but now the mills.
So the mill area,
the mill's like. I don't know, it's like a tannery or something. It's got terrible dyes or something like that, or I don't know. That's
pollution is obviously a big thing, Victoriana style. So again, another plot hook could be there's something attacking the mill. It's something from the outside, and the person who's running it wants you to go out, and it turns out it is monsters in the lake that have been transformed by what's happening at the mill, or polluting their land if it's like a whole ton of grungs or bullywugs going. This is our marsh.
Maybe it's run by like it's powered off like some sort of.
Again, water wheels and that sort of thing.
Well, I'm just thinking like infernal magic or something like that. I don't know. Maybe it uses like elementals to power it or something. I don't know.
Great. Day 4. We'll move on to day 4. It's landscape. So we kind of talked about it a little bit in a sort of general sort of sense, but we're going to now identify some important sections of the landscape and how they are important to the story. So obviously we've talked about we're building small and building out. So if we went to this mansion place, a sort of dock area, obviously it's important in some way because obviously we've sort of talked about it. It's on an ocean of some sort, or it's sort of going there. So how important would it be to the world obviously we're looking at an area just now, but to your world, how important is this dockland?
It's got to be very important, isn't it? In an archipelagic, I'm just going to use that word over and over again. World, isn't it? Because it's going to be like where all the boats are, shipbuilders, and then you'll have all the trade coming in and out. That's going to be the main port. It's going to be like it's going to be a hub, isn't it, of activity. What do you think? What are other sections of the landscape?
I think for me, like, I can see it being like quite a busy sort of hub and stuff like that, but maybe it's the only one on this region, perhaps. Like again, I'm feeling very sort of water deep. When there's certain port cities that do really, really well, and maybe here it's the only one because it's like the only one that has a decent dock because everything else is sort of marshy land.
So maybe it's the only one. Like maybe you're right. Then maybe it's like it's all like a delta then ish. Do you know what I mean? From a bigger river, and it all goes marshy, and then it's maybe it like I don't know somehow has like a deep bay, as you said, like that is the main city which is on the front end of this ocean. I don't know, maybe I'm trying to think. Just something like that.
We don't have to justify everything of it. It's just
but I'm kind of thinking that's how it could be, and then you've got and then you have little boats taking them from the main dock to little places else.
To elsewhere in the world. Well, what's interesting as well, so we talked about it as sort of, we've got obviously a mill, we've got industry, which we've said is a little bit further away from this dock. So I'm thinking the landscape itself, there is something that maybe there are other mill towns or there are other things that are producing stuff which we can't necessarily get easily from the dock city, which it may be very rich, it may be very it's doing commerce. But there must be something else. So I'm thinking, what could be the resource, or what's the mill doing? Is it like cotton? Is it like really sort of old-fashioned Victoriana, or is it something else? Maybe this is where we would go. Okay, it's going to be dark fantasy-esque. What could it be? What's something that is like, I don't know, Victoriana style. Like you've got steampunk stuff. So anything with machinery. So coal is always a good one.
Yeah.
Or anything like that.
Yeah, maybe it's some sort of coal mine. Maybe it's mine. I think coal mine makes something quite different. Maybe it's like
I mean, a coal mine could be elsewhere. I'm just thinking of because it's going to take the issues with these resources. If they're going out into the world, you need to be able to. Because there'll be people like maybe again,
it just takes that. Maybe all the reeds in the thing make a sort of type of wheat that then it's a mill to just make some sort of flour and stuff like that. And so it's just like they have like things that go. Maybe it's like I'm trying to think of like a rice mill. So maybe it's like paddy field-esque, and it's kind of got
perfect.
this.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe from this region they are bountiful in like paddy rice fields, and so that's getting them processed and stuff is a big thing, and so leaving this from this region going out, absolutely. So again, there could be adventure hooks and that sort of thing going, well, something's gone wrong with missing a shipment, can you go find them? Again, I'm thinking for me, I'm just thinking always the little hooks where you could connect these things
like
too.
a group of workers that are going out on their stilts have just never come back, and
exactly.
it's just because
or even like looking at say like tea rooms, for example. I now see the tea rooms as our version of the pub. We all meet in a tavern, that sort of thing. You all meet in the tea room.
You all meet in the tea room. So British. Can we get more British?
I know. I'm so sorry.
You all meet in the tea room.
It's a tea room that's a front for spies. I think we've done. Made
it even more British, to be honest.
But again, it's like, so these areas of the landscape. Again, I think because we've really. It is the infrastructure about getting it to and from places. I think that's the key thing. So some really interesting parts there. So I think that's enough to sort of go on. And day 5, we're going to look at its natural resources. We're already talking about these things in a way.
That's it. Yeah.
Let's see. For each natural resource, ask you where it was found, what is its value, how scarce is it, how is it managed, and what is its main uses. So let's talk about the paddy fields and the rice. So where is it found? Is it found solely around I'm guessing obviously far away from this sort of dock town that we've sort of with the mansion?
Deeper into this like delta-y archipelago thing. I think that there's just like big swathe of it. Maybe that's just like the main food source. It's all like everyone eats rice with everything. There's no that's how you eat. So it's rice flour, it's rice meals,
rice milk.
Rice milk, exactly. Yeah, like that's how everything is. Like there is only rice. There's no potatoes. There's no pasta. So you're not going to have your toast. You're going to have rice toast. Can you make rice toast? I don't know if you can make rice toast from
in this
rice
world.
flour.
We can make whatever we want. So
maybe you have rice. Those like rice paper wafers, those little like that's basically what people have with their tea instead of biscuits. It's like little rice wafers and stuff.
There you go. How cool is that? I think that's really cool. So what would you say, so the value of this resource of rice in general, I'm guessing because obviously it's quite common for people obviously in that
but it's an export. I think it's a big export as well, so like it manages to sustain the people, but also is exported out and is actually gets more money as an export because and maybe that's like there's a little plot hook there that like the mill owners kind of like had enough of the subsidies to feed the people and is like trying to like I don't know, do something to like make sure like is secreting away more to send out for the export money or something like that. It's not meeting, I don't know, there could be some sort of tension there. Or
like that whole idea that because it goes on to say how scarce is and how is it managed. Maybe it's getting to the point where year upon year the crops are worse and worse and worse until they have to do something else, watering down the product or something like that. So again, another mystery, like why is the food not as good? Or the food suddenly gets very, very good and everyone's talking about it, everyone's eating these biscuits. Why? What's going on? Something's happened at the factory, all that sort of thing. Again, very horror element there, I appreciate. But that's good.
Yes.
Let's come up with a different resource now. So we've got the main one, which is what this region is about, sort of the rice in general. I'm thinking it doesn't have to be food related. It could be. What else have we got down? So we've got.
Maybe there's like I'm going Victoriana, like whale blubber is a classic one, isn't it? Like because it's a fishing thing. It's not a great thing. It's a terrible thing that they did, but it is like something that was very.
So what about I now think because of this marshland stuff, maybe there are whales or whale-like creatures in the marshes that you go hunting. So yeah, so fishing or overfishing, that sort of thing, definitely we could do something with that. I think that's really cool. So with whale blubber and with whales in general, what is the value of this?
Maybe someone's making some sort of like hybrid being, like beast, that like creates lots of fat. They're fattening up instead of whales, so it's like a huge toad or something like that. I can imagine that lives in that they've like genetically engineered to make big, and like it's got like a blue whale's like, you know, this sort of
like the
gill
big
thing,
face.
rib thing, and big mouth, but it's like a frog whale thing. I don't know. Sorry,
Terrifying.
just trying to think of something that would fit in that setting.
But that's perfect. Again, very sort of, it's very unexplained, and that idea of it's super big and maybe coming out again. I can see a boss fight in there. I can see it's just something unexpected, and that's always the thing with Tim Burton and Lemony Snicket. It's like something unexpected, but will be unfortunate. You know, it's like we'll be fine. We'll just go into trudge, difficult terrain with the marsh and stuff, and you have to fight this massive frog. All that sort of thing is really good.
Cool.
Okay, let's do one more. Let's do one more prompt, because I'm enjoying this sort of thing. So the day 6 is capital. So we've kind of talked obviously about capital. So British.
It just makes me, every time I hear capital, I think of that bloke in Pride and Prejudice, because we're talking about.
Of course.
Do you know the guy who goes capital?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
sorry, we are being ridiculously British. We're literally hitting all the British marks right now. We just need to.
Hey, you know what? It's our world. Come tell us otherwise. Come tell us your worlds if you this amazing book. So the prompts are for this one is like, what is the capital city called? Where is it on your map? What are the nearby fresh water resources? What are the nearby natural resources? Are there any other benefits for its location? What I'm going to say is that the capital itself isn't necessarily the dock place that we've made, because let's move away from that, because we've done a lot with that, and I think that's a really interesting, maybe a starting place. But I'd like the capital to be something that if I was getting players in it, that goes somewhere. So where would you say what's the name of the capital, Hamilton? Let's go with that.
Oh my God, what's the name of the capital?
Because names are terrible.
That's a difficult one. Okay. We need Victoriana. I'm just thinking like, okay, so let's think like what's good like Victoriana, so we got.
So I'm thinking. So the one thing I always look at the endings of words. Certainly in Britain, I appreciate it.
There's like that. It's that Dun. What's that one?
There's Duns. There's like Ingshire is always a good one. I'll find the endings of towns. I'll have a quick Google. Endings of towns. Ending of town names. We've got.
I'm trying to think of like. Yeah, Derry.
Chester, Ford, Ham, Mouth.
Ford. Yeah. Ford seems right because it's kind of rivery, so it's kind of like a river. But I'm trying to think like what's like.
Marshford.
Isledom or something like that.
Isledom, yeah.
Isledom or something. Isledom.
Isledom. Well, again, you don't have to settle on this just now. So we've got.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with kind of like. Yeah, maybe the area's called Isledom or something like that. I don't know.
Okay, so yeah, if you want, so say the region is Isledom. Yeah. Like
Isledom.
I like Ford, like you were saying, a sort of idea where it's a shallow place, it's rivers and stuff like that. So I think like Marshford would be my suggestion.
Marshford, yeah. Shallowford. Maybe it's called Shalford.
Shalford. I like that.
Or it's spelt like, being British about it, it's spelt like Marsh, Sheford, right? So it's got like an extra E in there, but everyone pronounces it Marford.
Marford.
So when people from other places come in, they go Marshford, and they go, no,
idiots.
It's Marford.
Tourists.
Yeah, tourists. Because that's such a classic English thing to do. Name it something completely different and say it completely different to how it's spelt.
Yeah, absolutely. Where on this map will it be? So if I take this, so we've got, again, I'm visualising this, so we've got, where would I put it? I'd put it, I think if I was a DM, I'd put it far away from my players. So and maybe like, ooh, well, what's happening in the capital? We must go there soon. And then, because it takes such a bloody long time to get there, then maybe it's because
then you know what it's all about.
you know what it's about, and maybe it doesn't live up to expectations. Like it's maybe one of those capital cities that used to be a really good capital, like it used to have it, and now everyone's spread out because of the rising waters a little bit. Maybe it's a bit like Venetian in a way. There's like you have to go through get on boats to cross over bridges to get
Yeah.
to the next street and stuff like that. Maybe it's
maybe it's
something
like
that.
really grand, but only like 50% of it's like accessible now and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah, I quite
Oh,
like
perfect.
that.
What a great! Oh, I love that. The idea that half
Yeah.
of it is like underwater.
Oh,
or
maybe
it's
like
weathered.
yes. This I'm thinking now back to our punk tower.
Yes.
Like this, I'm making it a tower now. It's not a tower. It's the big building, the Gothic building. Maybe that's like the biggest, highest point in the area. So like it's this big mass that kind of grows out and creates like a point, like a lighthouse-esque sort of object on this sort of cliff face that sort of grows out of like a mountain range that then disappears off and then meets the mainland again. So maybe like there's the mainland and
Like a-
mountain, then it kind of creates
Yeah.
like a spine, like a needle, like the needles, and then on that rocky outcrop around then this sort of marshy landscape is that tower, and then. That's why they're getting all the people up there and they're thinking like they've had enough of this city that's like falling apart, sort of disillusioned with it all.
I love it. I love that.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
everyone's moving out.
Yeah.
Maybe
But they're
almost like
thinking it's time to move in. Do you know what I mean?
Ooh, yeah, like a opportunity to do.
Yeah, maybe a lot of the punk people are coming from the mainland. Maybe that's sort of like. Maybe there already a rebellion that's happened on the mainland or
What?
something like that.
See, because obviously I assume later on it talks about this, but now I'm thinking of like the politics of this land, that maybe one of the ruling or most influential sort of powers is a sort of punk, we do what we want, music
Yeah.
is that sort of thing, and then maybe the prim and proper stuff is like another opposing power to it. Like this, about those philosophies that we talked about in the Planescape when we did
Yes,
that.
yeah.
So yeah, coming up with factions and stuff like, and giving them a philosophy in some way. So now
Yeah.
I love this idea that it's a Tim Burton-esque world, but one of the most influential people's like the philosophy is like, fuck yeah, what do we want?
Yeah, and they've
Fuck
maybe
rules,
got the
we make them.
mainland sorted, and they're like, or they're thinking of, I don't know. There's going to be a good political tension going on there. I think.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
Exactly. There you go. Nearby fresh water sources, so we've talked about marshes and stuff like that. Nearby natural resources, we've talked about sort of maybe this idea of fishing and stuff like that. What other benefits are of this location? So can you think of like another thing that the capital, is obviously, it's falling into disrepair, it's not as great as once it was. What could it have been known for, I guess? Like what would be a benefit for you to live there?
Benefit to live there. I think that you've got like hard ground, like is one thing. It's got like some like rock you can build on, and maybe with that, maybe like has building material, and but it's also like it's the most like stable big area landmass. So that's the reason why that's where it's grown the most, and it's the closest to like the deep water that gets you out from. Because maybe it's like maybe this sort of like marshy land leads back to a mainland, as I said, but really this is like out in the water front further out, so it's got access to boats getting in quicker. And maybe people used to maybe there is a dock on the mainland, but they used to like raid the boats before they got in or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's like how they started up, and then they went straight, if you know what I mean. Like it was all like a pirate isle that then sort of like got popular, then became a dockland, then became sort of like, and then hundreds years later it became like a prim and proper. And maybe the prim and proper, maybe they are still like thieves. Maybe it is a thieves guild, this tea room thing. Maybe that's where the pirates.
It's all about rules and
Yeah.
the pirates' code. It's more like guidelines, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
and so,
exactly.
so this has this history in piracy and smuggling and stuff like that, but it's all prim and proper. Whilst all the sort of the punk stuff is like a big rebellion against it, and now you have these sort of two opposing.
Maybe they're like they want to go back to the old ways or something like that. The old original, like it's all
There's
free
sort of-
and
everything's free, and it's all about
Yeah.
what you want rather than what
Yeah.
other people want.
exactly.
Fantastic. Well, then we'll should end there. Obviously, if you want to find out more, and obviously this is just little bits, and we've sort of really interpreted from the questions themselves, just because there's. I mean, every single one of these books has a lot of information about it, and sort of gives you an idea. So obviously, you can make it more like if you were writing a novel, or you wanted to do world setting. But I just thought, let's try something different and see if we can apply to it. And honestly, this world sounds fucking cool. Like
I'm up for it now. I feel like we need to do like a one shot in Isledom at some point.
Yeah, I think so. It feels very like
Isledom?
thinking about it. It feels very salt marsh in a way, but like I mean, I'm sure you might know this more than I do, but I don't know anywhere that is proper marshland that's like that more type thing with the industrial stuff that's not necessarily Eberron with lots of magic and all that sort of thing. Like, we've not really spoken too much about magic, and maybe that's the thing. Sometimes they do say, how big is magic in your world? We could make this world, because it's so neutral just now, we could have lots of magic in it, so here's a D&D world, or it could be like, there's no magic at all, and we could use any other sort of RPG system to flavour, like, what is the other thing to it? So.
I feel like the punks are more magic. I feel like the old like the people at the pirates are less magical, and the punks are like I don't know. It's kind of where I'm going with it, but I don't know.
I love that idea. I've been reading about elves recently, so all I'm seeing is just a punk elf that's just, I don't know, shooting magic missiles out of their fingers.
Yes.
Like, that's all I see now. So
yeah.
Oh,
100%. I'm so up. I'm let's play it. Done. That's my character. I'll take you. Yeah, we go. Got characters, everything.
All right, well,
sorted.
Thank you, Hamilton, for joining me on a very, very whistle-stop tour of just creating a world. Now, we did that in about 45 minutes or something like that. And already we've got so many cool ideas, and that's what my big thing with this is, like, this is like a solo thing that you can do yourself, but I just get other people involved. Like, you can get so many cool ideas, and like I said, I didn't think we'd do Victoriana, James Bond, Marsh, punk. But it works, and I think I've got so many notes here. Like, the fact I've written Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter down, it instantly tells me all I need to know about the rulers, perhaps, of this town. Or
yes.
And Johnny Depp, sort of like the runner of the mill, or even Helena Bonham Carter running anything. I mean, I'm down for that. So
totally. Oh yeah, I think she's the mill owner. Definitely.
She is the mill owner. 100%. Oh
yeah. There we go.
Anyway, Hamilton, what's going on with Dragonstore? What are you up to?
What's going on? Oh my gosh.
What is going on? Let us know.
What is going on? So much is going on. We have 2 actual plays. They're on Friday nights and Saturday nights. When this comes out, we've been in the Abyss. So we had the multiplayer with my players that I've been taking. We went in the Abyss. We've had some fun characters. I had a load of fun with it. I'm really enjoying playing D&D actually, and just playing an actual campaign again, and like DMing one instead of like doing silly game shows, which you still do at the end of every month. But we had like a whole session the other day where we just literally RP'd like pretty much the whole way through, like in like a really nice, like fun way. We had like some NPCs that they've become quite attached to, that we're having a lot of fun with, and we got a wild magic sorcerer, and so and they're in the chaotic plane, so the wild magic surge has got to be like quadrupled. So anything that happens that was like a 2-minute thing lasts 2 hours, and they went illusory for 2 hours in the Abyss, which meant they basically broke the game, because it's like, we're illusory now for 2 hours. There's like, so you could do whatever you like, and so they wanted to get into a vault, and it was like, all right, we'll just walk into the vault. And I was like, good. But it was actually hilarious fun, because I didn't actually think they would be able to make it to the vault, and I thought they would all die, but they did make it. So
how cool is that?
It was fun. So we're enjoying ourselves, so that's good. So you can check that out. Friday nights 10 p.m. UK time, 5 p.m. Eastern. Saturdays 9 p.m. UK time, 4 p.m. Eastern.
Fantastic.
Yeah. What about you, Fiona? How is Where going? What are you up to at the moment?
Where, as always, is going very, very well. I know what's happening.
Yay! Finally.
When this has finally gone out, the first part of hang on, I get it right. The first part of Mars Colony 39 Dark. Yes, that's the name of it. I don't know why I panic every time, but it is. I'm not very good with names. Will be out, and that is a sci-fi political thriller between myself and my good friend David. We played the first one, and this is the sequel. And interesting enough, we both played it during the times when political tensions were not great in the UK. And when I edited it back, I was like, oh, they're still not great. So massive content warning on it, but it was some really good stuff. It's basically, if you imagine like a political thriller that takes place over 4 hours, like a proper film, it's kind of like that, and it's really good fun. We've got other ones coming out. We've got Idris Bai, Numenera. I'll have some solo stuff coming out as well. So it's a busy time, but I'm enjoying it.
When are you doing? You're doing your long haul? Is that out? Is people talk about that?
I can talk. Yeah, I can talk about that. So yeah, I also did a solo RPG called Long Haul 1983, where I play a truck driver. It's going to a destination, and again, content warning, it's very bleak.
It sounds amazing. I'm so interested to hear this one. It's the main. Since you talked about it, I'm like really eager to listen.
It's an amazing thing. It's by Sean Patrick Kane. And it uses a system known as the Wretched system, or by Loot the Room, essentially, and it uses like cards, essentially. It's a bit like... it's a whole load of games it's like, but essentially it's the idea that you pull the cards and it tells you what happens each day, and at the end of each day you find a phone box and you make a call to someone who's waiting for you at your destination, and they never answer, so you leave a message. And so it encourages you to record your messages, which I'm like, perfect for podcasting. So that will be out.
And it's got soundtrack as well, hasn't it? Which is quite cool.
And that's the one thing I love about indie RPGs, is that sometimes they come up with their own soundtrack. And I'm all for that. Can't use them in podcasting for copyright reasons, but I love the fact that I can listen and like feel a part of it.
You could tell people what it is though, so they could play it in the background on another computer or something like that.
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
So Long Haul 1983 by Sean Patrick Kane. I would highly recommend checking that out.
Awesome.
And that will come out at some point when it's edited. So and that's us for now.
So,
obviously we've got our Third Space Gaming offer code, DMBC. You type that into checkout, you get 10% off. Yeah, you've got to do the hand signal, otherwise it doesn't work, apparently.
It's a somatic component.
You can obviously pre-order stuff there. Obviously, I recently got the expanded rules alt covers from there, and it's very, very beautiful. So you can get your alt covers from there, but you can also get terrain, you can get board games, you can get other RPGs. Try them out. Tell them I sent you. They're in Burnley, so go say hello from the north. There's not really marshland around there, so it'll be okay. And that's it. Obviously, we've got our secret project coming up, which will be out. Hopefully, do we want to put a date on it? Like in March sometime?
In March.
There we go.
Say in March.
I was like, I saw your eyes go.
It's like no, we will. We will be ready for it in March.
We'll be ready for it in March. So we'll talk more about it at the time. But that's going very well as well. So that's us really. All good.
Exciting. Fantastic. All right. Well, there is none but left to say than see you on the flip side.
Bye. Love you. Bye.